life was a little bit untraditional. I had a gay dad. So instead of father knows best, it was father knows where to get the best throw pillows. There were a lot of stories. For example, my father's neighbor was selling her house, and her real estate agent told her to make the house feel homey, to bake some bread so it smelled good, or, if she couldn't do that, borrow a bread maker from a gay neighbor. Next thing I know, I'm at my dad's house and the phone is ringing and I pick it up, and she says, "This is a weird question, I know, but does your dad by any chance have a bread maker I could borrow?" Did he have a bread maker? Of course he had a bread maker. He had the latest model. He even had a gluten-free bread maker in case there was a dietary emergency. My sister and I were mostly fine with having a gay dad. My brother kind of struggled with it. He wanted a manly man for a dad, someone who was a pillar of strength he could watch sports with. One time my brother flew in to visit my dad, and my dad showed up at the gate with flowers. My brother was pissed. My brother wanted a manly man, and instead he got Liberace with a bouquet at baggage claim. I remember thinking, what do you want him to show up with? A football and a Playboy? Whenever I think of Playboy, I think of the pool man. In the 70s and 80s, there was only one prototype of a pool man, and they all looked like they had just left a parole hearing. The pool man drove a light blue Chevy station wagon, wore cut-off jean shorts, had scraggly blonde thinning hair, had a cigarette dangling out of his mouth, and always had a Playboy on the front seat of their car. And parents, they'd be like, "Oh sure, come on in. Our 2 teenage daughters are sunbathing in the backyard. Would you like a beer?" So I get to travel sometimes for work. I recently went out and bought a lovely little navy blue suit, and I paired it with a little yellow and blue flowered scarf. And the first time I wore it on a plane as I was walking down the aisle, several people asked me if it was safe to get up to go to the bathroom. I said to one man, "Sir, on our airline, you're always safe." And then I made the sign of a cross. I don't even really know what to do because I'm Jewish. In my current job, I once got to travel to Malaysia, which was the first time that I was in a majority Muslim country. So as a Jewish person, I was a little bit nervous. After I landed and I was in the cab on the way to the hotel, I started seeing swastikas everywhere. I started to panic. I was like, oh my God, they're going to find out I'm Jewish and I'm going to be toast. I had no idea that Hitler had stolen that symbol from Eastern religions, and that in Malaysia that symbol meant abundance and plurality. Hitler was kind of a marketing genius if you think about it. I mean, he took a 5,000-year-old peace symbol and completely rebranded it. And how did I not know this? I mean, I'm Jewish. We learn about the Holocaust before we learn how to walk. I mean, I know they're not really teaching about the Holocaust anymore, but because it never really happened, but I think that's something they should include in the curriculum. For my current job, I sometimes get to travel to the Middle East, to Israel and Saudi Arabia. Of course, as a Jew, I'd already been to Israel, but the first time I was scheduled to go to Saudi Arabia, I was terrified. As Jews, we tell ourselves these stories, like, we can't go to this country or that country because they'll find out you're Jewish and they'll kill you. I went anyway. Let me tell you, these people could not have been nicer. And after I was there for just a short while, I started to think, these people seem really familiar to me. The food, the guilt-based hospitality. I mean, it was Israel only with better manners. I mean, Israelis scream at you to eat more. Saudis smile while feeding you until you need medical assistance. Sometimes when you travel, a culture completely lives up to your expectations of them. About a year ago, I had the opportunity to go to Ireland for the first time. I love the Irish. Does anybody not love the Irish? I mean, in a way, I think the Irish and the Jews are very similar. You know, they're both funny, they're both musical, and they both make a mean brisket. And they were both hated when they first came to this country. Now, in this category, Jews are winning because we've never really moved out of that phase. The Jews and the Irish are similar, only the Irish know how to drink, and the Jews typically do not. On my 1-hour flight from London to Dublin, I was sitting across the aisle from an older Irish woman traveling with her 2 adult sons. On that 1-hour flight, they each ordered 4 whiskeys and 1 Baileys and cream, and it was 8 a.m. Well, as we were beginning to land, one of the sons wanted one last drink for the road, and his mom said, no, you've had enough. But the flight attendant who, by the way, was wearing a lovely navy suit. She said, "Oh, let him live a little." Just beautiful. So I've been married for nearly 30 years. Ordinary crowder. And, you know, my husband's great for a straight guy. I do think that most straight men need a little tweaking, a little civilizing, and that job often falls to the wife. For example, when we were first dating, he invited me to meet him at his house around lunchtime. I got there, and he started cooking a stir fry. For one. Didn't ask me if I was hungry or if I wanted any. Then when he was finished cooking, he just sat down and started eating it. I asked if I could try some. He reluctantly handed me his fork and said, "Yeah, just don't eat it all." Somehow I married him anyway. My husband is honest to a fault. While he was pursuing his PhD, he was teaching a graduate statistics class at San Diego State. And one day I arranged to go meet him after class. And let me tell you, at San Diego State, even the graduate statistics students are hot. In fact, they've ranked in the top 10 hottest college students, according to the Pool Man's Playboy. I started watching all these gorgeous women and men file out of this class, and I started to get kind of annoyed. And so later that night I said to him, "Honey, you know, the students in your class are pretty attractive. You know, do you ever fantasize about any of them? You know, I know you've never acted on it, but like, do you ever think about sleeping with one of them?" He looked kind of sheepish and he said, "Yeah." I said, "It's okay, I understand. Which one?" He said, "All of them."